Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this June 9th, 2025 Great Falls Public Schools Board of Trustees meeting. And we'll call this meeting to order. And Mr. Patrick, would you please administer the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Gordon Johnson.
Here.
Kim Skornagowski.
Here.
Bill Bronson.
Here.
Craig Duff.
Excused.
Marley Sunchild.
Here.
Amy Thompson.
Here.
Paige Trosky.
Here.
You have a quorum present, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick. Trustee Thompson, would you please administer the pledge? 'Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, I will remind you, by state law, we are required to record these meetings, and they are recorded and then posted on our website at some time in the future. And I'm going to invite Mr. Williams to explain a glitch that happened at the last board meeting, whereas part of it was not recorded. (22-1). That's a good record. You should be proud of that.
Those are better than baseball right now, so you should be happy.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Mr. Chair,
Trustee Skornagowski.
I move we adopt the agenda as presented.
Been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as presented. Any questions or commentary from our trustees at the table this evening? Any questions or commentary from our gallery? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of adopting the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Who are opposed to adopting? Motion carries. We have adopted our agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Trustee Skornagowski.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any questions or commentary of the content of this consent agenda from our Board of Trustees? Any from our gallery? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have approved the consent agenda. Moving on to Roman 6, Superintendent's Report. Mrs. Hoyer.
Well, thank you, Chairman Johnson, members of the board, members of our community. Before we start tonight, just a couple of things. First of all, happy birthday. Marley's was on June 1st. Kim's is on June 14th. So ladies, we hope you have a fantastic birthday or had a fantastic birthday. And thank you for all you do. Before I start scrolling through, I wanted to let you know I will update you every month as to our openings over the summer. So as of today, and to the best of what I can reconcile, we have 29 openings. There may be a couple that we are looking, doing background checks and different things like that. But 29 looks like where we're at, and I can give you a breakdown of them. So we currently have 5 Resource 1, that's both elementary and secondary, and 10 Resource 2-3, that's elementary and secondary. Then we have 5 general classroom teachers. That includes 1 family consumer science teacher from North Middle School because I didn't have another column to put them in. So we have 2 kinders, 2 6th grades, and 1 FCS. We do have 1 counseling opening. We have no library openings. That's awesome. 2 HPE teachers, 1 at each of the 2 high schools. 1 business teacher, that's a half-time at both high schools. We have 2 English, secondary English position, 1 at Great Falls High and 1 at East Middle School. and one world language position at Great Falls High. We do have a math intervention position that's at East Middle School, and one music position that's a 1 year only at CMR, and one elementary art. So those are our openings that we have as of today. So I'll start my presentation giving you guys updates. It's always a moving target because we have interviews and background checks happening all the time, but we're hoping that that number of 29 inches down as we move throughout the summer. So with that, we have end of year celebrations. We had so many celebrations, but this was one that popped up on my email that kind of flew under the radar a little bit. This was our Great Falls Public Schools Air Force JROTC unit. They received the Distinguished Unit Award with Merit for growth and accomplishments of their cadets and mentorship contributions from their instructors. They also received the Silver Star, which is given to the top 5% of units nationwide for their community service and giving back to their community. So this was a wonderful letter of commendation and congratulations to our JROTC students who continue to do so much for our community as they learn about leadership in that class. So I snuck this in because congratulations to Trustee Bronson. He is, so Bill, you can tell me if I get this wrong because I had to creep on your wife's Facebook page because you didn't talk about it. So he's the 2025 Sherman Fellow Award winner for the Portage chapter of the Lewis and Clark Trail Heritage Foundation. And when I was reading about that, this quote really stuck out to me: is you get things done even if you don't care who gets credit. So the reason I think this is important is because this is about the education of our larger community, of our state and our nation. Bill is the president of the National Lewis and Clark Alliance, whose chapters coordinate Lewis and Clark education programs and trail stewardship along the entire Lewis and Clark Trail, including here in Great Falls. And so he has served, it says, for decades with his Portage Route chapter, with the Lewis and Clark Interpretive Center Association, the Lewis and Clark Festival, and the Lewis and Clark Foundation. So thank you, Trustee Bronson, for continuing your education of Lewis and Clark in our schools and in our communities. So if you have time on your hands, and I had to have a little picture of, I think its name's Nugget. I can't remember. It's Cassie Ross's little, I don't know what kind of reptile it is up there in the top corner. She's always posing it. And it has its summer umbrella on and its lounge chair on. But if you have time on your hands, there are so many things happening, and this is just a snippet of things that students can do of all ages in our community through the public schools. So we have swimming lessons, of course, happening at Great Falls High. Those have been happening for years. If you ever had a child that attended swimming lessons of your own, you'll know how high quality those swimming lessons are there. I would encourage everybody to check those out. We do have Safety Town coming up. Those are for littles who are heading into kinder. They have to be 5 years old and heading into kinder next year, and they learn all sorts of amazing things, like how to be a good backseat driver. They learn about yield signs and stop signs and roundabouts and railroad crossings, but they also learn about electrical safety and fire safety and stranger danger and all of the different things that deal with safety in the life of one of our youngest learners. Safety Town covers it. And then we have the soccer camps, and we have volleyball camps, we have football camps, we have basketball camps, you name it, wrestling camp, we have them. I just grabbed one from each side of the river. But then we also have our free summer meals happening as well. So just because we don't have students in our classrooms, we still have lots and lots going on with Great Falls Public Schools and helping our students in our community. You may have seen this, but another congratulations to Jordan. Jordan Langford Forrester was named as a National Lowell Milken Center Fellow. This is a fellowship that is merit-based for educators of all disciplines who value the importance of teaching respect and understanding through project-based learning. She is the first fellow from Montana. She is also the first fellow who is an Indigenous person. And so a huge congratulations to Jordan. She'll be doing that work this summer as she looks to discover a lot of unsung heroes across our nation who are doing amazing work in their communities. So best of luck to her, and we're sure proud to have her in our district. The annual book giveaway is coming up. This hit, or the information for this hit our email several weeks ago. So Sherry and I wanted to be sure that we gave this a shout out again. So these are books that are out of date, obsolete, or no longer needed for reference materials. And this is free for people who want to come in and find a book to their liking, or books, plural, or boxes of books. Wednesday, June 18th from 11 to 6, Thursday the 19th from 10 to 4. It's at Paris Gibson Education Center, park by the football field, go in the back gym doors. And that's where that book giveaway is. And it's free to go in and to take books that you want. And we're encouraging our community to go check those out. A huge, huge thank you to Dennis Martin. He's the administrative assistant in the curriculum office, and he organizes this. And it's a large undertaking to get everything cataloged, because he has to keep track of it and give all that information to Mr. Patrick. You may have seen this, but if you haven't, I wanted to be sure that we recognized the CMR boys and girls tennis teams. They were recognized for their commitment, sportsmanship, and success throughout the season. So MHSA wanted to be sure that they were recognized in our community for that by naming them the team of the month for May. So congratulations to the players and the coaches of the CMR tennis team. If you don't have anything that's burning that you want to do on Friday, the 4th of July, please join us as we hand out pencils, which usually disappoints many young children, but hand out pencils. As we march in the band, we usually, or march not in the band, we follow the band. And hand out the pencils. We usually also display the truck, which the foundation raffles. That's the first time we have that out in the community. And it's usually a large competition between the Boyd family and the Hoyer family to see how many pencils they can hand out. And so it's a lot of fun. It was the first community event that Mr. Williams did with us last year as a member of our cabinet. And it's just a really cool way to get out and see a lot of faces, give a lot of hugs along the way. It's an awesome time. So join us if you're free. We line up at 10:45 at Whittier Park. We wear red, white, and blue, and we have a great time. So Corey Reeves shared some restart data with us, and I wanted to be sure that I shared it with you because I think it's important to really champion some of the amazing things that are happening there. And so for the 2024-25 school year, he and his program served 20 at-risk youth ages 12 to 17 that came from Great Falls Public Schools who needed a different place and a different model to go to school. 14 of those students, so 70%, that's a large success rate, successfully completed the program and transitioned either back into their school setting or enrolled in the CCRC to pursue their high set. One student, and you see him pictured up there, actually graduated with his high school diploma following the completion of Restart. And another student received their high sets during the CCRC's graduation ceremonies. Their average attendance rate was 87.56. That's huge. And so a big shout out to Corey and to the students and the families who bought into this program and are making a positive change in their life. We look forward to continued success. Speaking of success, these numbers were amazing. And so we had a total of what I consider graduates, 794. That does include the CCRC, even though they're high set and they're not traditional diplomas. So you all partook in a lot of these or a lot of these celebrations, but Great Falls High had 273. CMR had 280. Restart had 1. He was not included in the Great Falls High School program, so I wanted to include him. The CCRC had 117. She is my favorite graduate. She's 84 years old, Mrs. Baumgardner, and that was on her bucket list to get her high set diploma, and so she checked that box of her bucket list. It was pretty cool. Paris Gibson had 120, and I was texting Yenta over the weekend. I said, "Do you have any pictures?" Because I was cheering too hard for your kids, and I didn't grab any pictures of when they threw their hats, and she was doing the same thing. So we had this picture of this young lady. And then down in the bottom are secondary life skills kids. They traded in their certificates of completion for their high school diploma at the end of their programming. So there were those 3 there. So we're very, very proud of the 794 who walked their own stage, no matter what it was. They completed their journey of high school, and we're proud of them and the teachers and the staff that supported them along the way. So that got me thinking for my data of the day, really, what is our investment in education? And so I need to give shout outs to Chris Mee and to Shannon, to Brian Patrick and to Luke Decons who helped pull all of this together. So when you take a look at the data table in front of you, it shows you if you really tracked one graduate from the time they were in kindergarten, if they spent their 13 years with us and walked the stage, what would be their total collective investment when we're just considering teachers' pay per graduate? So in elementary school, we knew we had 390 teachers. You see their average daily rate up there and the number of students that they have. So it's a 13.32 to 1 student teacher ratio. We calculated then the daily rate per student and we counted 187 days because even though they're only with us for 180, those 7 days of professional development time that the teachers have are really important to the quality of education that happens in classrooms. And so we counted those 187 days times the number of years at their level, and that gives you the total. So you can see for elementary, we invest about $31,970 over the course of that child's time in elementary. In middle school, it's $11,034, and in high school, it's $20,795. So for a 13-year investment, it's about $63,800. Which means if we have 794 graduates and completers, it's about a $50.6 million investment per graduating class. It's a large investment in our students as they cross that stage. The reason this is important is because of the difference it makes in the life. So if we invest $63,800 into the students, they can, over the course of their life, if they only have their high school diploma, turn around and invest over $250,000 back into our community. So in Montana, and this comes from Work and Money, it was a big research study that happened that broke down every state with the median salary for a high school graduate compared to the median salary for a dropout. And the difference in just how much they make a year. So a little over 5,000, or not a lot over 5,000, a little under $6,000. But what we know about graduates is in Montana, students without a high school diploma have a significantly lower median annual salary compared to those who graduate from high school. Their poverty rate is twice that of students who graduate. Unemployment. In 2023, the unemployment rate for high school dropouts across the nation was 23.5%, where it was 15.8% for high school graduates. So that's huge. Their lifetime earning is just significantly higher. And if their lifetime earning is higher, their economic impact is higher in our communities, which turns around and actually makes that $63,000 investment per student a really, really good deal. So with that, that is my data of the day, and that is my report for the first meeting in June. Thank you.
Thank you. Very illuminating. Communication B, audience communication. I haven't received any requests to speak before this Board of Trustees this evening. That brings us to action items A, authority for the Director of Business Operations to make end-of-year budget transfers. Mr. Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the board, this is a standard meeting agenda item that happens in June of each year. And with the closeout of the year, what I'm busy doing right now is getting all the funds and balancing and making sure funds are spent out the way they should be. But in order to have the information to the board, it'd have to be done by June 19th. So this action on your part allows me to make any transfers, and in making this motion, know that any transfers that I make are approved by the board at a later date. So it's just a good financial fiscal move for the district to balance those funds, unless you're dead set on coming back to a meeting on like June 30th at 5 o'clock. So that's the end of the fiscal year. So my recommendation, Mr. Chair and members of the board, is to grant me the authority to make end of the year budget transfers.
Thanks for the warning.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I
Mr. Bronson.
move that we extend authority to the Director of Business Operations to make end-of-year budget transfers as recently explained by Mr. Patrick.
It's Been moved and seconded to approve the Director of Business Operations the authority to make end-of-year budget transfers. All those any conversation or questions for Mr. Patrick before we take the vote from our Board of Trustees? Anyone in our gallery? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Patrick. Action item B, second reading of the annual review of board policies 3300, suspension and expulsion, and 3311, firearms and weapons. Mr. Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. These are annual policies that have to be reviewed as part of our safety plan. They were as a report at our last meeting, and the recommendation for a change had to do with archery as one of our clubs, and that is again recommended tonight. So recommendation is to approve these two policies as presented with the minor revision with archery.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Tarosky.
I move that we approve the recommended minor language changes to board policies 3300, suspension and expulsion, and 3311, firearms and weapons as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the changes in policies 3300 and 3311. Any questions or commentary from our Board of Trustees? Any commentary from our gallery here with us this evening? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action item C, district-wide safety plan. Again, Mr. Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This is again an annual review of our safety program and plan. Policies 3300 and 3311 tie into our safety plan. There's also a lot of protocols and practices, which are exercises and drills that we do annually, whether it's the emergency fire alarm drills that happen, and we make sure those happen. The backbone of our safety policy is really an app on our phone for district staff called In Case of Crisis. It provides all the details for staff members on what to do if something happened in any scenario, whether it's a natural disaster or a shooting and those types of things. There's two members that are on the safety committee. We have two meetings annually and review, and really those meetings are intended to get information from our employees on their eyes and ears on what's going on in the schools and how we can make them safer. Part of this report is also just a recap of the year on safety items, and I'm not going to read it all to you, but I do want to highlight a couple of things. And one is fire alarm systems. We continue to upgrade the fire alarm systems. Last year we did Chief Joe. This summer it's Lincoln Elementary School. And Mr. Williams is submitting a COPS grant, as you learned at the last meeting, to exacerbate that process and move it forward and hopefully do a few more schools if that grant is successful. One of the highlights for me this year was the armed intruder training. And for years before COVID hit, we would get small groups of staff and do one school and have a few work comp claims and go through that process. And the SROs and Lance Boyd put together a great program this year where we trained every school in the district, and that's phenomenal. It really is. It really opened the door to a lot of staff thinking on what would they do in an armed intruder situation. And just a highlight of the year to get, it's pretty phenomenal to have all that training take place, because in years before we had a number of trainings and had maybe 10% of the staff trained. Just know as a board member that part of our safety plan is we have an annual walkthrough at each building, and part of that walkthrough is safety. It's what are the things that need to be fixed in the building. We have all the people at the table, whether it's the food service, the principal, the engineers. Brent and Jack are there, and Julie Shotnikoff also attends and reviews the safety protocols. She's been out before that. They've reviewed it. They bring that information at the meeting. So it's a priority for our district. And then annual inspections, we have 1 million of them. Whether it's the Department of Labor, our insurance company, they do a great job of coming in, reviewing our playgrounds, saying here's some stuff you need to address, and that's appreciated because it makes our school a safer place. Number 10 on the list on page 50, that it's one that's a little concerning, that I think raises a little bit of a red flag, is workers' compensation claims. Struck or injured by increased to 67% this year, and that's too high. And it has a lot to do with a lot of our situations with students, but again, it's a high one that we'll work hard to address in future years. And then this district is also lucky and blessed to have Erica Harp lead our nursing program. They hit it out of the park along with Jesse Youngers when we had a salmonella incident in the state and in our district. And the amount of time and effort and their proactiveness in getting information to people that needed it was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. They were a great team. They worked with our city county health department and really hit it out of the park. So, and then I know at the end of the year there was some concern about measles, and Haver had some cases, and we were ready. And part of a lot of due diligence work by a lot of our employees, Erica and Heather, especially getting the information ready, getting our district ready if that happened to hit us. So those are just a couple of highlights, and appreciate you. What's the recommendation is? Yeah, and the only other thing I want to recap on this is there's the option in the board prep sheet that talks about a transfer to if we wanted to transfer money to, let's say, do 6 fire alarms in a summer. The only problem with transfers when it comes to safety is if you borrow it from a fund like adult ed, you can do that. But before you can levy any mills in adult ed, you have to pay that money back. So to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense to be borrowing money and then paying it back before you can increase it on a permissive levy. So not a high recommendation on that. So at this point, I guess my recommendation is to approve the district-wide safety plan for this last year.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Tarowski.
I move that we approve the Great Falls Public Schools district-wide safety plan as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the Great Falls Public Schools district-wide safety plan. Any questions or comments from our Board of Trustees? I'll just say I'm very grateful for the work that's been done on this project. It's quite comprehensive, understandable, and thorough, so thank you for that. Any questions or commentary from our audience here this evening? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Again, thank you, Mr. Patrick. That brings us to action item D, second reading of deleted, new, and revised board policy 1000, legal status and operations, 11,000, organization, 10,000, which is new, legal status, operations, and organization, 1130, committees, and 1531, trustee expenses. Mrs. Hoyer.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson, members of the board. So in front of you, you have the second reading of those mentioned policies. When we take a look, it was policy 1000 and then 1100 that is in front of you. Those two were combined into the new policy 1000. Then language changes for 1130 and 1531 is recommended by the committee and MTSBA. There were a couple of editorials. Sorry, guys. Smoke is getting to me. Holy cow. It's a little early in the season. If you look on page 56, that is policy 1000, the new policy, you'll notice that we had the editorial of changing the word of to with. That was recommended by Trustee Bronson. And also on page 58, policy 1531, that was making meetings plural. That's found on line 14. So those were the two editorial changes. Besides that, I've had no additional input from our community or our staff, and I would recommend that you adopt those policies as changed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hoyer.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Bronson.
I move that we adopt the recommendation of the policy committee to delete policy numbers 1000 and 1100, to adopt new policy 1000 in place of the previous policy 1000, and that we approve the amendments to policy 1130 and 1531 as just outlined by the superintendent.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the policies that were listed by Trustee Bronson. Any questions or commentary from our Board of Trustees regarding these policies? Any questions for our gallery here? And again, thanks to the policy committee for their good work on making sure that these policies are working in our favor as a district. Appreciate it deeply. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Action other. Nothing was pulled from the consent agenda. It enables us to go to Roman 9, reports, discussion, and policies, A, board subcommittee assignments. And I hope that each of my fellow trustees received a list of committee assignments. Thank you so much for submitting to me in a timely manner your requests. I'm happy to say that most requests were honored, and I chose to keep some of the key people in the same place and the same committees because of their efficiency and their effectiveness in those roles. Two notable things that I want to, actually three, one of which is this is a non-legislative year, and we're going to take a look at how we can best, as a district, perhaps coordinate with other community entities to be more effective in our voice down in Helena, and we'll work on that. Two, changing up the superintendent evaluation. I've entrusted Trustee Thompson with that so they can better serve not only effective and efficient evaluation, but produce something meaningful that we can work to the credit, towards the credit of our organization. And then three, and lastly, I chose to augment the policy committee by one and put Mr. Duff on that because I think that's a good way to learn quickly. That's an understatement as to how the district functions. So again, I thank you very much, each and every one of you, for your service, not only on this board, but on the committees that you serve. Very much appreciated. That brings us to B, discussion, committee reports, and comments. Trustee Tarosky, would you please kick us off?
Sure. Just want to give a shout out to the Restart program. I think it's really great, and I love hearing about it. And I think it's a great option to our students when traditional school isn't working for them. It gives them still something to work towards. And just happy summer to everybody. Happy start of summer.
All right. Very good. Trustee Sunchild.
Happy summer to everyone who has a summer vacation. It was great seeing all the fun teacher things and reminded me I don't think I could do that anymore. They were fantastic. And just want to say that Superintendent Hoyer's data for the day proves that education is the core of everything we do in this community. If you want to invest in the community to start making it better, invest in education.
Hear, hear. Trustee Thompson.
Well, you stole what I was going to say, but that's you
Say
know
it
how much I
again.
love the data of the day, but that's a really great one because if that investment wasn't there, then what more are we paying for in the end? So I appreciate you putting that together. And yeah, reiterate what Paige said about the Restart program. It's awesome. I'm happy to hear the numbers 20 and 14 graduating. That's awesome. And the graduations were wonderful.
Yeah.
Always very meaningful. And I managed to not cry in the last two, so that was good. And then I went to the Spark the Arts on Saturday, and that was a wonderful event. And many of our students played and entertained the crowd, and it was just really well put together and great stage for our kids. Some of them for the last time since they graduated from high school, at least as high school kids. So.
Thank you. Trustee Bronson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of things. First, since I'm now taking Mr. Finnegan's place as the regional municipal director, I attended my first meeting in Helena last week. It was also held in conjunction with the education finance workshop that Superintendent Hoyer also attended. I've left for each of you and the superintendent a memorandum in your boxes, just with some handouts from that session that
Thank
I
you.
thought you might find informational. Probably the important takeaway from that event is that it was held coextensive with the first meeting of the committee that will be studying the school funding formula over the next year and a half in preparation for the 2027 legislative session. And so it was very interesting to hear a number of different viewpoints and look at some of the data that they will be looking at. But in any event, there's a memorandum in your box there and you can read it. And then if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to follow up with me individually. And then secondly, just a further update on insurance. We are continuing to move forward with a renewal of our own health insurance program. I really appreciate the services that Alliant and Mike Vaudeville and his staff have been able to provide to the district, but that doesn't mean we're not still looking potentially down the road at participation in this new health insurance trust. They are getting closer to the point where they will probably be coming to all of the districts in the near future and asking whether or not they choose to participate. And again, that's a decision that we will have to look at very carefully because there's, I mentioned before, it's no secret. Our health insurance program is probably the best run of all the AA districts. And given all of the advantages that we have in our particular plan right now, they will have to make a pretty strong case to us that we need to move away from that. That being said, they have been responsive in addressing a lot of the particular needs of self-funded districts like ours. And so, again, the proof will be in the data that they offer to us once they present a proposal later this year. But more to come. Thank you.
Thank you for your service on those committees. Trustee Skodowski.
Just thank you to all of the staff members. I know the end of the year is incredibly hectic and a lot of additional work, so that you can take a break. And also just a thank you to Superintendent Hoyer. Feel like you read our minds. I always want to know how many openings there are, and what types of positions those are, and really to emphasize the importance of graduation, not just for those students but for our community as a whole. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and I concur. The graduations, I know how these things work to an extent. There's 1,010 moving parts, but for the community to come and see their student graduate, it seems seamless. It seems just so natural. But to have that happen with all the pieces that need to be put together, all the people who extend love and dedication and hard work to make it look that seamless, more power to them. And I'm very proud of what we do here in Great Falls in processing these graduations from these buildings. So thank you very much to all concerned. Now, if there's no additional business to come before this Board of Trustees this evening, I will call for an adjournment that might be a district record. 40 minutes.
We just jinxed ourselves.
We probably did.
That was for you, Jen. I said that was for you, Jen. 40 minutes.